Float like a butterfly and sting like a bee. Rumble, you badass jet pilots, rumble. Welcome to the Wingmen Show. My name is Drew Brown, and my wingman is Dr. Paul Thompson. How you doing, my brother Paul? How are you?
Oh, pretty good, Mr. Drew. This is Drew Brown, Dark Gable, the American Dream, the man, the myth, the legend, the pilot's pilot, the role model's role model, and most importantly, his royal fullness. Listen to what he has to say.
Oh, Dr. Paul, you're too nice, too kind. You are my wingman. You're a badass jet pilot. And welcome to the show, everybody. Thank you for our old listeners. Welcome to our new listeners. You guys can watch us on YouTube. And if you get a chance and you like us, give us a review on Apple Podcasts. We really would appreciate it. Dr. Paul, I did my Peloton. I did my Shotki. I'm working out. I'm feeling fit. You know, we saw an article that you have to really do 150 minutes of good exercise a week in order to shorten your, You know, we saw an article that you had to do between 150 and 300 minutes of exercise a week, and that will prolong your life, it says.
Yeah, that's good. And that's a reasonable figure. You figure about 150 minutes over a week's period, you're talking about, 20 minutes a day, 25 minutes a day, or a half hour every other day, which is what I'd been thinking about, which is really not much time. I think it's got to be activity, some vigorous activity, and some just moving around. Anything better than sitting in chairs like what I'm doing right now. That's what most people do. We're sitting around, just going up and down, changing diapers is exercise for people. But just keep your body moving.
Well, on the Apple Watch, it actually has a little thing that'll tell you time to stand if you're sitting around too long.
Oh, really? Yeah, I've got that on my Fitbit. It'll say, it'll say like no activity or something. It's like, wait a minute, I'm getting my water. What are you talking about? We're just looking at you.
Well, we're going to have a newsletter coming, Dr. Paul, and that newsletter is going to have some good, healthy tips in it. It's also going to talk about our wingmen every month. We bring in a wingman, somebody that helps somebody else, and it'll talk about that. So everybody look out for our newsletter. Well, guess where I was this past weekend? I went to Las Vegas.
Oh, really? Did you win all the money?
No, I won something better. I saw Bruno Mars and Anderson Paak, who call themselves Silk Sonic, at the MGM, and it was the baddest ass show I ever seen. They are smoking.
They're good. I saw them. I watched them on YouTube just a couple of days ago. And they've got some good stuff out there. They've got really good stuff. I mean, surprisingly good stuff. They're almost they're almost like in the wrong time period.
That's what I was just going to say. They mixed that old with the new.
Yeah.
They got that Temptation slide, and let me tell you, them boys can dance.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, since I told you that, guess where I'm going this week?
Where?
Right here. Where we live, we're going to see Santana and Earth, Wind, and Fire.
Okay, Santana. I want people, everybody knows Santana. See, I'm thinking of the original Santana from the 69, 70. I had that album called The Braxis, which was excellent. That's his best work, in my opinion.
His new album was really good. His latest one, I don't know if it's latest, it's probably years ago, but Santana's been very pertinent for years, and he is a smoking guitar player. And Earth, Wind, and Fire, I can't wait to see them, but you know what I'm going to yell out, right? No new stuff. No new stuff.
Right. Nobody, you want the old stuff.
I always want the old stuff. Here's a great one, a little breaking news. After 50 years in captivity, Tokate is an Orca. 50 years, Tokate has been in captivity doing shows, and they're going to let him go. And you know why? They found his 90-year-old mother in the oceans of Pacific Northwest, and they're going to let him go so he can reunite with his mother. But here's the trip. I don't know if you ever saw the movies, but an orca's fin is actually curled. And if you watch YouTube, I'll put a picture of it. But in captivity, that dorsal top fin is curled. And as soon, the movie Free Willy, as soon as it goes free, that dorsal fin stands straight up.
Really? Okay. So where is it? In the Pacific? Is it like in San Diego? Where's the whale?
They did not say.
Okay.
It's a secret. No, I don't know. The article just said Northwest. We're digging for good news here. And you and I work very hard to find it. And I'm so glad we got a comment from one of our listeners that just made my day. And it said, you know, guys, I feel better after I watch your show or after I listen to your show. And I'll tell you what, that just made my day. That made my day.
Yeah, this is a time for not bad news, but useful information. That's what we want to try to do with the newsletter. You know, won't be very long, just little blurbs here and there, news you can use if you choose, but everything will be upbeat, and useful. And hopefully you do feel better and profit.
Well, guess what? We made it, Doc. We've made it. We're successful. We busted our ass all our lives, and we want to share that because you can make it in this world. You know, there's a capitalistic society, and money is important. Doing it the right way, not stolen money, but your money that you work for. It makes life a lot easier.
Yes.
Well, I was in Kroger the other day, and I'm pushing this on you because I didn't talk about it before the show. In Kroger, in line, this guy had a U.S.S. Lexington hat on. And it was a war carrier, but they turned it into a training where we learned how to land jets on aircraft carriers. Anyway, I said, oh, thank you for your service. I qualified. You know, I took the T2 and the A4 on the Lexington, the U.S.S. Lexington. And I said, I qualified my jet on the Lexington. And he said, what years? And I told him 83 through 85 or something like that. He said, I was there. Mm-hmm. And Dr. Paul, I got chills all over me. That means he was there during one of the most incredible, scariest, weirdest times of my life. And that is the very first time I turned that corner and I was about to land on a moving boat. And I saw that big ass aircraft carrier. And even though the Lexington is small, it's big ass when you're coming to land at it. Yeah. And I don't know if you know the story, but my left hand on the throttle would not pull the power. So I was trying to push the nose down, which you don't land on a carrier like that. So I'm trying to lose altitude with my right hand pushing the nose down, but my left hand was saying, dog, you from Harlem. You ain't going down there. And so they noticed something was wrong and they said, anything wrong? I said, I think I have a couple of fluctuations in my instruments. They said, go take it around. And I took it around the next time I landed. But the first time I saw that, this Harlem boy here is like, shit. I mean, hell no, I'm not going down there.
Yeah, you had fluctuations in your nerves. That's
Oh my God. Do you remember your first?
Yeah, I do. It was interesting. Yeah, the U.S.S. Lexington, you know, the ship, it's I don't know how they do it now. I'm sure you can simulate everything. You can grow up with simulators on a computer at home and do stuff. But when you see it for the very first time, it's different than any kind of description. And it looks like it's like a little postage stamp. It's not big from like 2,000 or 3,000 feet up. And it's like, you know, the deck is angled and, you know, how is this going to work? But you just follow the procedures. You follow your training. You've been working, you know, years to get to this point. And it looks like it's not going to work, but it does work. And it requires a lot of training. Also requires a lot of faith, discipline and faith. And
it's confidence, really. And we practice it so many times. For some reason, when I hit that deck, I was not expecting that tug, but that tug came and it was the second best feeling I've ever had in my life. Let me just put it that way.
Yeah, and I can tell you about the Saratoga. It was a training carrier. You want to know about the original Saratoga?
Sure.
A little bit of history. The original Saratoga was called it was CV2. It was the second Essex class carrier, I think.
Can I just interrupt?
Go ahead.
C meaning carrier. V meaning Navy. So I just wanted people to know that when they say CV, it's a carrier and the V means Navy.
Yeah, that's correct. Kind of crazy, but the Navy uses different nomenclature. And the original U.S.S. Lexington was involved in World War II. They were not at Pearl. They were in the Pacific. It wasn't at Pearl Harbor. They were out, actually, when Pearl Harbor was attacked. They were out on some kind of exercise ferrying planes. They came back, resupplied, and became part of the war. They were badly damaged in the Battle of Coral Sea. And so badly damaged, they decided to scuttle the ship. They got hit really badly, and they They intentionally sunk the ship with a destroyer. And that was that. But they were making another aircraft carrier, and they renamed that the Saratoga, the U.S.S. Saratoga. And it was CV-16, and it's got a history too. They needed to go back into the war. They went on a shakedown cruise in the Caribbean for the new Saratoga. They called it 16, and had an accident. And there was a Heisman Trophy winner. This is where athletes gave the ultimate sacrifice. But there was a Heisman Trophy winner. His name was Niall Kinnick Jr. And he won the Heisman Trophy in 1939 from the University of Iowa. And he was training on the ship. He was in an F-4F Bearcat, just on a regular training flight, and crashed a few miles away for some reason. He was losing oil pressure. He was never recovered. The plane was never recovered. After that, after the Venezuela crash, they went through the Panama Canal, rejoined World War II, and they're involved in the last big naval battle, the Battle of Leyte Gulf, and that was that marked the naval victory of the U.S. over the Japanese. And the ship came back, and they made it a training carrier like in 1969, so 69 to 91. And after that, the Saratoga is now a museum in Corpus Christi, Texas, which you can go,
that's
you can
wonderful.
go visit. Yeah, they've got one in the Intrepid is in New York.
Intrepid's in New York, and I learned how to fly T-28s out of Corpus Christi.
Yeah, so there's South Texas. Yeah, that night I qualified in Corpus Christi. I qualified in the A7 out on the Lexington also, which
Did
is
you really?
Yeah, and that's really small, especially at night.
Well, talking about the A7 Corsair, how fast is the fastest you've ever been?
Oh, it's the ones we had were pretty old, and I'm going to say I got it close to 500 one time, like in a dive. I did 480 once, but typically 500. You're not, because of the shapes and stuff. It wasn't a fast mover.
Well, the reason also we didn't go supersonic is because we carried weapons, and weapons are not allowed to go supersonic. They could explode on your airplane. So our planes weren't built to go supersonic.
Right. Yeah. And it's, it went fast enough. The planes now are better engines, they're faster, and they can go.
Well, that's what I wanted
speed.
to tell you. Guess what? Boom Supersonic is a new company, and Boom Supersonic just sold 20 jets to American Airlines, and I think 40 to Japan Airlines. They're going to be supersonic jets. Miami to England in less than 5 hours. And they're going to go the speed of sound and faster. And what's real interesting about these jets is the carbon footprint from airlines are really bad for the environment. And we all see what's happening with our weather when our environment is interrupted. Well, guess what? Dr. Paul, I want you to tell us these planes are running on an alternative fuel that doesn't leave a carbon print. And we used to have supersonic jets in the Concorde, but it didn't work out because it cost more in gas than they did in revenue, so they stopped it. But this new Boom Supersonic, man, this is going to change the airline industry.
Yeah, they run on what they call SAF, sustainable aviation fuel. And it's not, there's no carbon footprint because it's not standard fuel. They can make it out of all kinds of stuff, like cooking oil, for example. Cooking oil and a lot of, plants. This can be made into fuel. I don't know the process. So, I guess they go to fast food places and, recondition this oil, this cooking oil. So that's one thing. In terms of the speed, it's against the regs now to exceed the speed of sound. Sonic booms can cause a lot of problems. I think the Boom Supersonic, they can fly over land. They're going to fly like at 0.93 Mach, which is, when they say Mach is the speed of sound. And I say 0.93, that's like 93% of the speed of sound, not 100%. You'll get the sonic boom. But when they go over water, they're going to go 1.7. which is 1.7 times the speed of sound. That's going to be the plane cruising speed, probably in the 50, 60,000 foot range, not bothering anyone.
No, that's amazing. I mean, you'll get to your destination mighty fast. And talking about that sonic boom, the best one I ever heard was on an air show we had out on the Carrier. And we were out, I guess, in the Mediterranean, and we did an air show for some dignitaries. And I'm going to tell you something, Dr. Paul. These two Tomcats came by the ship, supersonic, and it looked like a cartoon. They were going so fast because you heard absolutely nothing. And when they went by, not too much later, boom! I mean, it rocked that aircraft carrier. The Nimitz rocked after that sonic boom. And I'll tell you what, unless you have experienced something like that, man, you haven't experienced fast-ass flying.
Well, yeah, I saw the ship a couple of times, but I've actually heard a couple of real sonic booms when I was growing up in New York.
Wow, what was that from?
Well, that was from, I believe, it was from testing out at Grumman in Bethpage, Long Island, which was not that far, because I was in Queens. This is during the Cuban Missile Crisis time. And I probably was no more than 4 years old, but I remember hearing it a couple of times, and it was different than thunder. Think of the worst thunder you heard, but a thunder that like really shook everything. We're in the house and no windows broke, but you could tell it was something. Boom! And everything would shake. It'd be like a nice day. There's sunny out, There's no thunderstorm. And I remember 2 or 3 times, and no more than 2 or 3 times the most. And I couldn't have been any more than 4, perhaps 5. And years later, found out, well, they stopped doing that because everything was, they were breaking windows, all kinds of things happen because when you exceed the speed of sound, you've got this the shock wave that's in the back of the airplane, and it's a 3-dimensional shock wave. So it all kind of piles up after the plane is gone. The business end is behind it, and that's what hits everybody. That's why the airplane goes quick, and that compressed boom, 3-dimensional boom, hits you. But I can tell you something different. Now, airplane to go, Mach 1.7. They are working on another company I can tell you about, a hypersonic airplane. Hypersonic is Mach 5 or better. And believe it or not, it's a company called Hermes Corporation. They're working on a Mach 5 airplane. You know where they're located?
Where?
Near Atlanta, near where I used to do the corporate headquarters, where I used to do martial arts. It's near the intersection of I-285 and I-85, not too far from Costco I go to. I got to get.
Oh, in Atlanta?
Yeah, it's in Atlanta.
Wow, that's amazing.
They've been working on it. They've been working on it for like about 4 or 5 years. And other people, Lockheed and NASA are partnering up, and they're working on it's the X-59, and that's also a hypersonic airplane. It's in testing. They're working on it in Palmdale right now, and I know something about it because there's a model company called Mahogany Models, and Mahogany Models has made a model of this X-59.
All right, stop right now. Dr. Paul, I have to tell everybody this really important. I'm going to put it on the screen, mahoganymodels.com. Our Dr. Paul has a company that makes jets, rockets, space shuttles, anything that you could ever want made in a model. Dr. Paul has a company that will do that. And it's called mahoganymodels.com. I will put that on the screen for our listeners that watch YouTube for us. Go ahead, Dr. Paul.
Thank you. Yeah,
mahoganymodels.com.
Yeah, makes customized aircraft and aerospace models. And we were approached by NASA and Lockheed some years ago to make a mock-up of them. So we'll put one of I'll send you a picture, and you can see this X-59. You can see it online. See it on, but it's they haven't done the testing yet. It's coming soon, and they'll go kind of slow. And they want to look at not only hypersonic, but they want to reduce the sonic booms. Can't make them zero, but they can reduce it. They're trying to reduce it like about 30-40%. So this X-59, it's with all these airplanes, the cockpit, the nose is straight, and the cockpit, if there is one, is way back. You need a needle shape to reduce. So this one, the pilot can't even see out the front. He has cameras. He can only see out the top. You'll see it in the model.
We're getting closer to Star Trek every day, you know.
Oh, very much so.
You do realize that we just started flying not too long ago. How many years?
The Wright brothers, in 1908. It's been, a century and
You say 100
century
years.
and a quarter.
Well,
maybe.
What do you think technology will be in 200 years from now?
Well, you might have a transport.
Beam me up, Scotty.
Beam me up, yeah. And Scotty
Beam me
may
up,
be there.
Scotty.
Scotty and Uhura.
Some good news. Let me give you some good news here, Doctor. Dr. Paul, you're an airline pilot, retired. You're a Navy jet pilot, and we've been all over the world, and we ate ice cream all over the world. Matter of fact, Katrina and I owned an ice cream place called Cold Stone Creamery in the Virgin Islands. The number one ice cream store in the world was our store in St. Thomas, Virgin Islands. But have you ever heard of Ben and Jerry's?
Yes, both of them.
You have. Good. Mm-hmm. Well, how about Craig and Jerry? You haven't heard of them, but you should have. They have a company called Rest in Peace Medical Debt. We had to work hard. We had to dig deep for this story. Well, Craig Antico and Jerry Ashton have formed a company. They used to be debt collectors. So they would call you, say, hey, you got to pay your hospital bills, have to pay your bills, debt collectors. They turned that around in the past 8 years, Dr. Paul. They have paid $6.7 billion of poor people's medical bills that were unpaid. What they do, they go to hospitals, they get up all the bills that are unpaid from people under a certain income, and they pay them. Are you talking about some wingmen or what? Can you believe that something like this is going on? 6.7 billion. They've made a lot of people happy.
Yeah, and they say they're just getting started. So many people go into bankruptcy and go in debt in this country from medical debt because of the prices of everything. They're astronomical. The last time I was in the hospital was for appendix and some other stuff. And the original bill was six figures. I looked at it.
It's crazy.
Yeah, and all of a sudden the insurance company said no. And then the hospital said, okay, we'll cut it in half. And they settled on that. I had nothing to do with it. I had to come up with like $300 or something. So, but it's like, whoa, that's interesting. So we go from $104,000 to 51. And why is that? There's a lot of waste.
They're corrupt, Dr. Paul. That's why it is. It's not close. This is America. We're capitalists. Everybody's trying to make an extra buck. That's just the way it is. And until we get, they say follow the money. It's true. We just had an NFL quarterback who was accused of things, and he just received the largest salary ever for a quarterback in the NFL. So it's all about money. It's all about winning. But these guys are not about that. There was a girl that they helped. She had a premature baby 13 years ago, and she's been paying that debt for 13 years. And guess what? One day she got a letter saying you owe no more. And she mentioned that was one of the happiest days in her life.
It would be. It would probably be similar to you, landing on the U.S.S. Lexington.
I don't know about that. I can't even compare anything.
You can.
I just can't. And let's not even talk about night. That'll be a whole nother show when we do night landings.
Right.
Because matter of fact, the first time I tried night landings on the Lexington, I didn't make it.
Mm-hmm.
I sure did not make it. So I had to go back and do some more landings until I came back and made it. And then I got to go on the Constellation, and I qualified on the Connie, so in California. Well, Doc, talking about flying, we're going to have a newsletter coming out, and we're going to have a link to this article. But our wingman this week is one of the nicest guys and most productive guys and coolest guys that I know. And we both know him very, very well. And he's actually been our wingman before, but he's so good. He's a double wingman. Like Saturday Night Live, after you've been wingman for 5 times, they think we'll send you a jacket. Can you give us our wingman this week, please, Dr. Paul?
Yeah, I agree with you. Our wingman is so good. We have to bring him up twice because he never fails to disappoint. He never disappoints. He's always bringing something in a very understated way. He's basically kind of a superstar starting guard superstar that no one's ever heard of. And that's Captain Albert Glenn. Captain Albert Glenn. And the thing about it is that I think this was unexpected, but he's done so much with the Luke Weathers Flying Academy in Olive Branch, Mississippi.
And Luke Weathers Flying Academy, for everybody, is an actual pilot school for underprivileged or underserved communities that Albert Glenn actually takes these young kids up and gets them interested in flying. This is not a rich man's school.
Oh, it's a wide array of people. Now I think they're being sought out. They teach not only children, but they help develop pilots. They've helped develop flight instructors. He's had people leave his flight instruction to go to the airlines. So it's from the very beginning of flying through professional development to enhance aviation careers or get people started in aviation careers. It's only been in operation a few years.
What happened to him lately?
Well, just the other night, about a week ago, they were at the OBAP, Organization of Black Aviation Professionals, annual convention in Phoenix. And during the closing ceremonies or whatever, they were presented a check. He was presented a check for $1.5 million from American Airlines to the Luke Weathers Flight Academy. That came from the president of America, or chief CEO of American Airlines. And wow. And we'll show pictures, a picture of him holding it. One of those giant checks, you got like 3 people holding it and they're smiling. Obviously, you'd be smiling. It's for $1.5 million for his school. Now, it wasn't to OBAP, it's going to be directed just to his school. And that comes from a lot of hard work. It wasn't all at once. It was from years and years and years of putting a coherent program together. I mean, they've done stuff with the Air Force. They've done stuff with the
very
government.
Beginning.
They've trained all kinds of people. So it's not primarily so-called underprivileged children, but now it's really people who are seriously interested in flying. If you're overprivileged, underprivileged, average, or whatever, this is a go-to place to go. I say Olive Branch, Mississippi. It's just outside of Memphis. It's about 10 minutes from where you and I used to live. That's 10 minutes. It's about a 10-minute drive.
And you know what? Drive. I think it's time for a Wingman PSA just for Captain Albert Glenn. Fact number 3, everything you do in life comes back to you. You get away with nothing. You do good, you get good. You do bad, you get bad. Captain Albert Glenn, you do good, so you get good. He's taking care of his parents right now. He is quite an exceptional man. I just want to say that. And he had a great family. His son flies for the airlines. Jeff Mabry now flies for FedEx, who was a student in his home. I stayed at his home when I went to training. We love you, Dr. Albert. I could call him Doctor. We love you, Captain Albert Glenn.
You might as well. And I'm supposed to visit the school in 2 or 3 weeks for a special presentation. So
yes, it's going to be the Paul Thompson Award, which we're going to talk about in 3 weeks when you go down there. We're going to have that part of our show.
Yeah. So there's a lot happening around the Luke Weathers Flight Academy, and it's run by the great, venerable Captain Albert Glenn.
Well, Dr. Paul, as always, may there be peace on earth and goodwill towards all men. And I truly, truly do pray for peace. And I hope everybody who's listening to us has a wonderful, wonderful day. Feel better after listening to our show.
I agree. And as my mother would often say to me, it's time to straighten up and fly right.
Thank you once again, Dr. Paul Thompson, my friend. Thank you for your love, your time. And that's something that we won't ever get back. I want to thank all the listeners, too. Thank you so much for doing the show, Dr. Paul. We're jamming.
Well, thank you, Mr. Drew, for inviting me on. Always good to talk to you. And ladies and gentlemen, please remember to like, share, and subscribe to this podcast or any of the podcasts. If you're looking at YouTube, they say smash the like button. Don't smash it. Just press it gently. and refer to use as a link to all your friends. You can also look at us on our website, wingmenshow.com, WINGMEN show, SHOW.com, altogether, wingmenshow.com. And we hope to see you in the future. Thanks again, Mr. Drew.
Oh, you're welcome. And we're still floating like butterflies and stinging like bees. Rumble, you badass jet pilots, rumble. May there be peace on earth and goodwill towards all men and women.